Hi, Marie. Thank you for coming back in to speak with me again. I know we spoke uh, at length last week. We completed your psychosocial assessment, so I was able to get a lot of information about your background and some reasons why you're here. So I just want to start off with just doing a quick check-in. How do you feel? How's your mood right now in this very moment?
I'm just tired. I'm just tired and worn out.
Right. Okay. So I want to take a moment to kind of go over your PHQ-9 results that we did to assess your depression. And you scored a 22, and I consulted with my supervisor, and that score signifies that you have some moderate to very severe depression going on. So um, that just corroborates, your complaints, your symptoms of depression. So I just wanted to go over that with you to make sure that sounds right to you. And also, we did the CSSRS, which is the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale. And again, just to clarify, last week you reported of having a wishing and wanting to be dead. And just feeling very hopeless and listless. Does that still sound right?
It does. I still have the same um, ideas and the plan. I haven't made any efforts since last week, but I still do think about inflicting a car accident where I could be killed immediately.
Thank you for sharing that with me again. I also want to let you know that I called your mother to get some collaborative information, about her perspective of things, and she, what she said went in line with what you were talking about. She said that she started noticing a decline, soon after you were married to your estranged husband, and that she was worried that you might be, experiencing some domestic violence. And so that is when she, kind of started noticing a decline in your behavior. So I think that after talking with my supervisors, that DBT might be something that might be helpful to you. Have you ever heard of DBT before?
I have not.
So it is a cognitive behavior therapy. I don't know if you heard of CBT.
I have, but I don't know much about it.
Right. So it is a modification of CBT. It's dialectical behavior therapy, developed in the late 70s to actually primarily use as an intervention for people that were diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. But after a lot of studies and research that went on, they found that it was actually helpful for people that had a high level of suicidality, kind of like yourself, who are dealing with depression and having constant suicidal ideations. So I'm thinking it might be something that might work for us, to really kind of talk about how your thoughts are connected to your feelings and then your behaviors, and then how we can attack each of those to get you to feeling, happier. So how does that sound?
I think that sounds great.
Great. So DBT emphasizes individual psychotherapy and group skills training. So our sessions will kind of look like we'll have, our individual psychotherapy sessions between 45 to 55 minutes, depending on, any assignment I've given you or anything you want to discuss. And that will be twice a month, so every other week. And then on the alternating weeks, you'll have a group skills training. Have you ever participated in any kind of group therapy work before?
No.
Okay. So it's something you might be interested in. A lot of my patients really like having that camaraderie and being able to make connections with people that are dealing with some of their similar issues. So you'll have a group of between 7 to 12 people, and it meets once a week. It's very intensive though, so it's about 2.5 hours once a week.
Okay.
So that might be an issue, depending on whether you're able to get childcare or anything like that. But if that becomes an issue, we do have some referrals for childcare we can refer you to, because a lot of our patients that do the group skills group have kids, and we understand that 2.5 hours is a long time to, one, be in group, but two, to make sure that your child is taken care of. The reason why the group is that lengthy because the facilitator really wants to make sure that you all are hitting some of the elements of DBT, first being mindfulness. So it might, the first hour is really, may have some meditation, some really having that grounding time to yourself, and then you regroup with the rest of the group and talk about whatever the topic is. Does that sound like something you might be interested in?
I could try it.
Okay, great. So I wanted to share with you like some of the components of the DBT therapy. First being mindfulness. Second, distress tolerance, interpersonal effectiveness, and emotion regulation. So what has your experience been with mindfulness? Do you consider yourself to be a spiritual person? Do you consider yourself to meditate or have time to do that on your own time?
I grew up Presbyterian, but I really don't consider myself religious. I do consider myself more spiritual. I don't meditate, but I do sometimes just sit in silence just to reflect.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. And that is a really big component of DBT, is just trying to get back to the self and skills training. So going back to the group therapy a little bit, each group you're going to be learning a skill set that's going to be able to equip you with the things you need to help you cope and deal with your depression, which is so important. So we want you to be able to feel confident that you can use those skills outside a group to cope with your day-to-day life, so you can be as successful as possible. The groups are also designed to run over a course of 24 weeks. So it's about over the course of a year. So 24 weeks over the course of a year. So you really do get to build a connection with the people in your group, because you're going to be in there with them for a long period of time. And I think because of the severity of your symptoms and the things you reported to me, I think kind of doing this intensive outpatient therapy might be really beneficial. So I also want to share with you the kind of functions of DBT, so you can really understand why things are done at a certain time. Mm-hmm. So we do our individual sessions, so to kind of talk about your motivation. So we're going to be talking about really kind of addressing, your life-threatening behaviors, which would be, your SI, your suicidal ideations. I really want to, make sure every time you, leave my office that you're having zero SI, zero thoughts of killing yourself, at the very least having no plan to do so. So targeting those life-threatening behaviors, and then the next week you going into group and really kind of learning a skill set to cope is our main goal. How does that sound? Does that sound overwhelming to you? Does it sound like something you could do?
I think, right, it sounds a little overwhelming, mm-hmm. but I also, I don't want to feel like this anymore.
Right.
So I want to try this.
Mm-hmm. So who else have you identified as people in your life that you can depend on, some supports in your life?
Really just right now, my mom. Mm-hmm. She's really my main support.
Yeah. And the hopes of the group therapy is that you'll be able to get more support from your group members and from the therapist that facilitates the group, because we want you to be armed with as much, support and confidence as you can, to help you with what's going on. Okay. So as we go through this process, you know, it won't be out of the ordinary for you to feel maybe overwhelmed, out of control, miserable even. Because the first stage of DBT is moving from out of control behaviors to control behaviors, things that you feel like you control. Second stage is once you get those life-threatening behaviors under control, you know, you're rating your mood as being an 8 out of 10 versus a 2 out of 10 from a scale of 1 to 10. Once you have all those life-threatening behaviors under control, you move from still feeling desperate to fully experiencing your emotions, to really kind of understanding them, because you've been through a lot of trauma. Would you agree? You know, have dealt with intimate partner violence with your ex-husband. You know, things still aren't resolved, and I think that as you work on yourself, you still may feel desperate or prone to fall back into that depression because, you know, there's legal matters that you still have to work out with your ex-husband and custody things. So, you know, I'm just letting you know that it's all normal. I just want to normalize all of that for you. Thirdly, another purpose of DBT is that we really want our patients to learn to live. Because I feel like you haven't been living, you know, especially living the life you want to live. Correct me if I'm wrong, you know. Learn to live the life you want to live, feeling fully complete. You know, we're going to be making goals, helping you build self-respect, peace and happiness. Our practice even helps sponsor a number of patients to go on like a DBT, you know, retreat. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to go on a vacation. But, you know, we highly recommend. It's just something that you can just, like, go and get away, refocus. It's just an excellent addition to the overall therapeutic process that we have at our practice. And then lastly, the fourth stage, which is a stage that not everyone needs to go through or has to go through. But sometimes people feel like they need to really kind of realize their spirituality, like they still are needing more or needing to feel full, and we'll help you the best way we can through that stage too. So I just wanted to kind of, this session, set up how the rest of the sessions are going to look so that you're prepared. So this week we had our individual session. Next week I'll get you a sheet with the times and dates of the group therapy. So next week you'll have a group therapy session with other patients here at the practice for 2.5 hours, and we'll take care of child care for you after the first time you go. So that's all I really wanted to kind of go over with you, is just how our sessions are going to line up. So can you think of any questions that you may have offhand or anything like that you wanted to ask me about the setup, any concerns you may have?
I don't think so. Not this time.
Okay. Well, I look forward to working with you, Marie, and I can't wait to see you in group next week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.